You are listening to Thinner Peace and Menopause and Beyond with Dr. Deb Butler. This is episode number 273. Welcome to Thinner Peace and Menopause and Beyond. This is Dr. Deb Butler, Master Life and Weight Coach, and as always, your coach. If you're a woman and you're smart and you're successful and you've been struggling with weight your whole life, and now menopause is making it harder than ever, and you are ready to make this the last time you ever have to go on a diet again, then this podcast is for you. Stay tuned. Welcome. We've got a lot to talk about in this coaching session, and probably one of my favorite topics. I really think of all the things that I have learned about managing my mind, managing my body, I think the biggest thing that I learned was that I could go out and celebrate socially with anybody about anything and not overeat and overdrink. And I will tell you that I think that the main reason that I have been overweight as long as I was because I believed I couldn't do that. It's so funny because I just got a letter from one of my listeners. It's so exciting. You know how excited I am when I get those. And one of the things that she said to me is that she's learned a lot from my podcast. And the thing that she still has trouble with is what to do when she goes out socially, because that's when she tends to fog eat. So isn't that kind of interesting that today that's my topic and I just happened to get that letter from her today? I believe in synchronicity and I believe that this is a message that needs to get out. So let's get ready to dive right into this juicy, juicy topic. Are you ready? Here we go. Okay. Celebrating. One of my most favorite things on the planet. I love celebrating anything and everything. And there are a lot of things to celebrate. And throughout my life, I did. It's hard to admit it, but I really believed that there was no way that I could celebrate without overeating and overdrinking. Now, I never said that to myself. I believed that it was just part of the whole deal, that, celebrations mean you eat and you drink. And you know what? That's absolutely fine. You can eat and you can drink and you can celebrate, but you can stay with yourself the whole time, meaning you don't have to overeat or overdrink. Because what I think is once you overeat or overdrink, you are then into more than likely fog eating and not storm or binge eating. But the problem is that comes from a specific belief system that you've got running around in your head. And remember, a belief system is just a thought that you think over and over and over again, and you believe it with all of your heart. And that's just a belief system. I don't know how many of you out there have the belief system that celebrations mean overeating and overdrinking. But for those of you that have that belief system or will admit to that belief system, this podcast is really going to help you. And also to my listener, I'm going to just say her name because she wrote such a beautiful letter, Sonia. Thank you so much. And this is also dedicated to you because you just happened to ask about socializing. And on your letter, one of the things that you said was that you don't drink alcohol, so it's just about the eating. And what I want to say to all of my listeners that it doesn't matter if it's about the alcohol or the food, it's all exactly the same thing. You're just not paying attention to yourself. You're not paying attention to yourself when you eat, or you're not paying attention to yourself when you drink. No matter what you tell yourself, like for instance, if you're drinking, that you lose control because it's the liquor, I don't go for that. I think that you have total control if you decide you want it, and you lose control if you decide you want to lose control. It's totally up to you. And I'm going to tell you what. I think the main reason that I went back to Weight Watchers so many times. I was a lifetime member. You know my story, a lifetime member for 30 years. And a lifetime member just meant going back and losing the same amount over and over and over again. And that made me a lifetime member because I hit my goal. And then I was constantly trying to get back to it. So with Weight Watchers, I think the main reason that I kept gaining that weight, as I've really already told you, is that if I had a celebration, in other words, if I was going to a wedding or if I knew Christmas was coming up or if I was going on vacation, and vacations I'm going to talk about in a separate podcast, but it's still the same kind of thing, celebrating. You think you're celebrating. And the question is what the heck are you celebrating? Now, I think that's something really interesting to look at. Are you celebrating the fact that you don't have to pay attention to yourself anymore and that's a celebration? Because that's what I believe you're doing when you stop paying attention to yourself and you're not actually celebrating whatever it is you think you're celebrating. For instance, your birthday, Christmas, weddings, bar mitzvahs, you name it. Oh my God, I could name so many celebrations and I look forward to every single one of them. And you know what? For most celebrations, food is involved. If you want to be mindful about it, I believe you can eat mindfully and celebrate mindfully and keep them separate. What do you think of that? Keeping it separate. So the celebrating isn't about losing yourself and not paying attention to yourself. Celebrating is you're either celebrating with other people and enjoying their company, or you're celebrating a milestone and you're excited to share that with other people. And also, I think for me, share good food too. I love sharing good food. I love sharing good wine. But there's a difference between sharing and mindfully partaking in it. So I can drink a good wine. I don't have to drink 5 glasses of it to enjoy it. I have clients in the beginning that think that's what they need to, that the only way they're enjoying it is to drink a lot of it. And that is just a fallacy in our thinking. Because in my thinking and what I believe is that, when we talk about joy eating that's exactly where wine goes. It goes in the joy eating category. And so that means that when you're drinking a glass of wine, you drink it sip by sip until you're through enjoying it. And I'm going to tell you, it's not 5 glasses. Half the time, it's not even 2 glasses. Many times, it's not even a full glass. That's the difference. When you lose yourself, you actually stop celebrating what you were intentionally going to celebrate. You lose yourself. And tell me how you feel if you overeat and overdrink after you've been celebrating. I mean, do you feel fantastic? Are you so happy and are you so excited with yourself that you stop paying attention? No, I don't think so. Not from those of you that I talked to over the years. And certainly that's not the way I was. Either, number one, if I was over drinking, then I had a hangover and I felt terrible. And even if I wasn't over drinking and I was just overeating, I had a hangover from that. I mean, what good is that? Tell me how that equals celebrating. And I've talked in other podcasts about the whole idea of what it means to enjoy food. And I told you that one of my belief systems was that food was fun to me. And that's what I'm talking about here too, is that I put it in the fun category as opposed to the fuel category. And I'm telling you, it's perfectly fine to have gorgeous, beautiful foods at celebrations, but mindfully enjoy them. Like when I was talking about going to a buffet. I remember I was playing around calling it a buffet, but I really meant a buffet. There's so much food there, but you can mindfully choose the best things that would fuel your body and that would taste the best to you and eat to a +2. Perfectly capable of doing that. Celebrating when you're with people and you have great food is the same thing. You mindfully choose what you want to eat. You don't mindfully decide to check out. You mindfully decide to check in and celebrate. You get that? Check in and celebrate is not overeating and not overdrinking and enjoying the moment with people and whatever that moment is about, whatever celebration that is about. But celebrating and checking out is the exact opposite. You actually don't enjoy everything as much as you think you are, number one, because you're checked out from your body. And two, you're paying so much attention to the food and the drink that you're not actually putting your attention on what the celebration is all about. Does that make sense to you? Now, here's the deal. If you're going through menopause now, and I believe many of you are, your body has reached a limit. If you've been doing what I was doing for 30 years, your body will not put up with it anymore when it comes to menopause. It will not put up with it. It will put more weight on you so fast. You probably know. You will not know what hit you. That's the difference between not being in menopause and menopause is as your body is changing hormonally and all the different things that it's going through. One of the things that I believe that happens, and there are a lot of experts to back this up, is that the body just refuses to put up with the neglect that you've been giving it over the years. And I think the biggest neglect that we do is we don't pay attention to our hunger. And the body says, I'm sorry, this is not going to work anymore. You cannot continue to treat me like this. And the way that it responds to this overeating and overdrinking is, number one, you feel like crap. Worse, I have so many women that say, I used to be able to drink. And now ever since I've been in menopause, I can't drink as much as I used to. And I feel so horrible the next day. And I said, well, that's good. And you know what? It is good. Really, if you think about it, if you're really intentionally wanting to get connected to your body and you use menopause as a wake-up call, then it's a time to start paying attention to your body. Because if you start mindfully taking care of yourself, your menopausal body will thank you. Really, for me, during menopause, I learned more about my body and learned how to take care of it better during that phase of my life than any other phase. Really, I learned how to control my eating. I learned how to control drinking. And I learned it because my body refused to allow me to do that kind of stuff to myself anymore. I equated it to weight gain, and I was trying to do anything possible not to gain weight. And that's what got my attention. And of course, that's what's getting your attention too. If you're listening to this is, hey, what the heck is going on with my body? I can't lose weight like I used to. But the reason that you can't lose weight like you used to is because your body won't put up with I'm not going to say it, but it starts with SH. Won't put up with it anymore. You got to end up treating yourself with the respect that your body has always deserved. So that's me, and this might be you too, but let me give you an example of one of my clients because it just stands out to me during one of these coaching sessions where she talked to me after a long weekend celebration with her girlfriends, and she was telling me how great it was. And I said, well, how are the food journals? Because I didn't get any food journals. And she said, oh, well, I didn't do any. And I said, why not? And she said, because I stopped paying attention. And so that's what that discussion was about, is why she stopped paying attention to her during her weekend celebration. And you already know a little bit because of what I've talked about so far. But let me tell you how it went with her. So she decided not to journal because she decided she didn't want to have to journal all the food that she ate and didn't really want to talk about it. So as is my custom, as you know, I asked her some questions, and here's some of the questions that I asked her. And this is what I would be asking you during our coaching session if you came to me and told me that you just had a big celebration and you don't want to talk about it. Okay. So did you eat between the twos? And how were you feeling emotionally? The answer was the way she was feeling emotionally is that she was feeling guilty. And she also said that she drank too much wine, so she stopped paying attention. So she was blaming it on the wine, right? Ever happen? If you don't drink alcohol, just say, okay, I had 3 donuts. And it's all the same, exactly the same, exactly the same. So the big question that I said to her is, well, what were you thinking? And you know what her first answer was? You know what it's going to be. I don't know. That's what everybody says. I don't know. I live with myself. I'm brilliant. I'm smart, but I don't know. So I gently asked her, as I would ask you, what if you did know what you were thinking? This is what she says. Well, if I'm going to have fun, I want to eat and drink and not pay attention so I can have fun. Fun and not paying attention have always gone together for her. They've always gone together, as it did for me too. It was a strong belief system. She wants to overeat and overdrink as part of her fun. And in her mind, and I'll start paying attention later. I'll go back on my diet, blah, 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 or whatever happens on Monday. But for now, just leave me alone. That's exactly what happened to her. What I shared with her and what I want to share with you today is that actually celebrating, food, fun, they all can go together if you choose to be mindful about it. Having fun and having your own back most definitely go together. So here's some questions that you want to ask yourself. How do I want to feel tomorrow? How much food and wine does it take for me to have fun? Can I enjoy wine one sip at a time, or a piece of cake, or whatever I intentionally choose? Can I enjoy it one sip at a time, one bite at a time, without turning my back on myself? How much do the people here matter to me? Are they part of my fun? How much fun is it to feel like SH in the morning from overeating or overdrinking or both? Can I pay attention to myself and enjoy the food I eat? And here's a really good question. Is this food worthy of my body? All really good questions. And I'm going to put all of those in my show notes because I want you to think about that when you're going to a celebration, you want to be mindful about what you're celebrating, and you want to be mindful about what you're putting into your body, what you're choosing to put into your body, and how you can choose to take care of yourself and celebrate at the same time. And I think one of the things that you can say to yourself is, and it's a question too, is, if it's delicious, can I enjoy just enough to enjoy every bite and stop so I can really get the joy from the food? And this other question that I'm adding too is, can I separately enjoy this occasion with the people without losing myself in food and wine? So checking in with yourself before, during, and after, and never leaving your side. How could you have a good time during your celebration and eat between the twos and feel good about your decision? No restriction and no deprivation, just joy for the moment of the celebration. Now, my client that I was referring to had her big aha moment when she realized this actually wasn't as much fun as she was telling herself and as much fun as she was telling me, because she did not feel good in any way, shape, or form, and she had so much guilt, right? And, in a way, I don't think guilt is a bad thing. If you're not treating yourself with respect, change that. Because I think that when you take excellent care of yourself, guilt leaves and pride comes in. And that's really what she wanted. She wanted to feel proud of herself and enjoyed every single one of those girlfriends too, and still enjoy the good food that was there. And not only that, another thing to really consider is With this big quote unquote celebration that she was doing where she was leaving herself totally, was this taking her closer to what she wanted, or was it taking her further away from what she wanted? And you know the answer to that. And then she knew the answer to that. And that was very aha to her, because here we are, we're working weekly. She's spending a lot of money and devoting a lot of time. And is that type of stuff going to take her closer to what she's working for? And the answer is no, it's not. It's not. And what it does is it continues to allow her to be overweight, to feel guilty, to not feel good about herself. And if she chooses to be mindful during a celebration, then she gets to feel proud of herself for taking good care of herself and enjoying every single person, including herself, that's with her. When we went back in her mind, she realized how much she loves her friends. And maybe being more present for them would also help her be more present for herself. That was an aha moment for her too. I really love that. When you've been thinking this way as she had, and as I had for most of my adult life, you've got to be patient and compassionate with yourself as you begin to change the way you think. And it starts with believing that this new way feels more true to you. And if it does, these new thoughts, this new way, if it feels more true to you, then it's a matter of being extremely mindful of watching those old thoughts pop up and directing your mind down a new pathway or a new thought that you consider more new and more believable. And this newer, believable thought is just like a dirt road in your brain compared to the superhighway thought of the mindless eating and celebrating. So, if you've been thinking, eating and celebrating go together and I don't have to pay attention, that's like in your brain, it's like this big superhighway. You think it before you know it, you're there, you've gone through it and you never even knew that you were thinking the thought. As we're going through this and you're choosing new thoughts on purpose, those are like dirt roads in your brain. They're new, they're bumpy. It's going to take a while. That's why you have to have compassion. Those superhighway thoughts, they're fast. You got to be very mindful to catch them and then take them onto this new thought, a new groove in your brain that's just like a dirt road that over time will become a superhighway. So listen, as you continue to think this new thought on purpose, the old way of thinking will become paired or cut off. I love that word, paired. And that's what they use when they're talking in neuroplasticity, that a thought becomes paired. So at first it takes lots of mindfulness and concentration. Like when you're meditating, you always come back to your breath. Every time your mind wanders, you mindfully bring it back. When your mind wanders to the old thought of overeating and celebrating, you gently bring it back to the more newer, believable thought. And pretty soon, your mind will go to this automatically. It's the nature of the brain. It's neuroplasticity. Change your thoughts, change your brain. Change your brain, change your body. 1 pound at a time, one thought at a time. Think about that. And remember, if you need help or you would like individual coaching with me in making new superhighways out of these old dirt road thoughts, you can contact me for a free mini session at drdebbutler.com/work with me. And we'll be talking. So as always, you know what I'm going to say to you. Wherever you go, whatever you do, please, please, please be very, very kind to yourself. And I'll see you next week. Bye-bye. If you're loving my podcast and you would like some more information to be able to follow along with, then please go to drdebbutler.com/change and you can get a free copy of my companion book that goes with this podcast that I refer to in many different episodes. That is drdebbutler.com/change, CHANGE.